Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me cosplayer Vanta Black. So, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody.
Now, I am very excited because you got a lot of cosplays out there. We're going to talk about a bunch of them. And you're from technically my original home state, New York. So, this is that's
Yes.
that's kind of cool in that regard. Even though I'm from Westchester and you're from New York City, but that's just 40 miles apart. But before we get into all of that and all your cosplays, I am super curious how you got into cosplay.
My origin story. So I was in, I want to say it was either my junior or sophomore year of college. I don't remember. And that was back in Tumblr days. And I was like, I want to cosplay, but I'm kind of anxious because like a lot of black cosplayers get racial slurs thrown at them. And so I was kind of afraid to start. But my roommate and now one of my closest friends, she said to me, she's like, oh, go find cosplaying while black on Tumblr, and there was just pages and pages and pages and tons of posts of black cosplayers from like all over the world. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, this is so inspirational. I want to be just like them. So I started looking up more stuff, and I'm like, okay, who's gonna be my first cosplay? And I picked Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond because because I had a huge crush on Terry McGinnis growing up. I love Batman. I think I've seen every single Batman movie there is. I have a Batman onesie. I have Batman posters. Um, I, I think I have now at this point have cosplayed a Batman character every year. So like Batman Beyond was like the perfect intro into it. So I got a unitard from Amazon. I stenciled in his bat symbol with red spray paint, like like wood spray paint. I got a Zentai suit mask, cut out the holes, got it like embroidery, like it's like embroidery plastic, and I like used it for the eyes and like made his ears from craft foam, sprayed everything black, made like utility belts from luggage tags. So it was like a mosh pit of just like how many random things can I put on my body to make this cosplay and be cool. So I went to New York Comic Con, I want to say 2015 with my friends, and I had a blast. It was so much fun. I walked around for hours. I was exhausted. My feet hurt. I got tons of pictures. People stopped me. I was like freaking out because there were so many people and there was so much to see. But it was like such a great experience. I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this like for the rest of my life. And so that's how it started. I taught myself how to sew. I have now learned how to use foam. I have hosted my own panel. I have been invited to panels. I've been guests at cons. I've been on comic book covers. I think I've done it all. I think the only thing I haven't done is compete in like a cosplay competition. And I was supposed to this year, but COVID happened. So maybe that's gonna come soon.
Well, that answers all my questions, so we can all go home now. but we're kidding. We're kidding here. So even going off of that, and I'm very curious because obviously this was your first one, and I want to talk a little bit of inside baseball. We can use this one as an example, and a few others if you like. But I am very curious about the creation process of cosplayers and people in general and how it all works. And so, how do you even come up with an idea? What inspires you, and what gets your brain thinking, and how you choose a person to cosplay and a character to cosplay, and where do you even start formulating the ideas for that? Because that to me is super fascinating.
Whew, that's a hard question. So usually I start with characters that like I self-identify with, or there's a characteristic of that character's personality that I think matches my own. I'm trying to think of who's a really good example. I feel like I talk about Darla all the time. I'll talk about Nessa. So when Nessa's like design dropped, I lost my mind. Can we curse? Can I say
Yeah, you can say whatever you
shit?
want.
Yeah, I lost my shit. I was like, this is perfect. I love Pokemon. She looks great. Like we are water. Hello? Like I was going crazy. And I'm like, oh, like look at her, she looks great. That's me. So I was like, okay, so I need to be Nessa. So this company named Black and Nerdy, they had her suit, and so I purchased the suit from her. I don't always purchase my cosplays. This one's purchased, but sometimes I make them my own. But hers was beautiful, and so I purchased it from them. And then the accessories I made myself. So like her hair trinket, I made the wig myself. Her sandals and the little floaties on her sandals I made. Her earrings and her jewelry, like I found because I had just different pieces in my house. So really, my creative process starts from who's this character? Do I like the character? Can I be me as the character? And then I go from okay, what do I have to be the character? What can I make to be the character? Or do I need to buy something to be the character? And buying is really like the last resort because I'm very much like I joke around, I say I'm like cheapo cosplay. No, and it's not because I don't want to spend money, but I like to create. And so if I can create it from different things like a Pringles can or, you know, like I said, luggage tag, then I'll create it and make it my own. So Nessa was just like a mosh pit of like everything I could find in my house put together, spray it gold, teal, blue, turquoise, so it would fit the color scheme. Because color scheme is actually a really big part of cosplay, which, you know, now that I think about it, like, oh my God, it goes hand in hand. So yeah, it was just piling all these things together to make it, you know, make it my own and make the character, I don't want to say like canon, but make the character believable and like to the image that I wanted to portray. I'm a cosplayer who specializes in curly hair cosplay and natural hair cosplay. That's why I have my buns. And for Nessa, I chose to have her with curly hair as well. So I had a curly haired wig. I got teal braiding hair, braided it into the wig, and then I made her bun, braided that, and then also attached that to the wig. And then I got like these like really pretty gold clips to like put in the hair. So it was like a labor of love. It was like I said, I love to create and I wanted to make it my own. So it was a lot of fun doing it.
Well, it's really funny that you brought that up because it sounds very much princessy, and it is National Princess Day. So, in case you didn't know, in case anybody didn't know, apparently November 18th is National Princess Day, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But even to go off of this a little bit, where you mentioned two things that are fascinating. So some people obviously in the cosplay world create, and they're creator cosplays, and there are people who put things together, and you do a little bit of both in that regard. And obviously, both of those things provide different challenges. And so I'm just curious because, and we're going to start with the creation side of things. Like, how do you go about finding materials and even figuring out what materials to use and what applies to what? And also, you know, certain materials are pricey, and that can affect cosplay. You know, cosplay can be very expensive in many ways,
Ooh, yeah.
depending on what you buy. And then obviously, you're in the U.S. and I don't think it's as much a problem in the United States, but it definitely. I've spoken to people from Australia and the UK, and getting supplies now in those areas
Yeah.
is going to be complicated, and it is complicated still, and there are people who don't have certain things, and so how do you balance all of that and figuring out what to use, or if something's not available, how do you substitute and that stuff on the purchasing and creation side of things?
Whew, okay, that's a there's so many parts of that question. So for me, creating becomes how do I create depending. I don't want to say I create depending on ability, but I create. There's a difference between I want to make this and I want to buy this. So there are some things that I'll see it. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. I would love to give this company money to fund their, you know, most of the companies are like small businesses. Like, I would love to give my money to this company because that's going to put food on their table. And if I see that, I'm like, okay, great. I'm, you know, helping out another small business. Um, if I want to create it, it's because I want to learn a technique or I want to learn how fabric works, or it's just something I'm like, I'm going to challenge myself. Like, I taught myself how to sew a few years ago. I taught myself how to sew. My sewing machine is from the 70s. I knew I can hand sew, and that like 2 years ago I could hand sew. That's it. Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was bias. I didn't know what was muslin. I didn't know what draping was. I didn't know what a pattern looked like. Like I knew nothing. Like I kid you not, nothing. It took me, like going on Reddit to find my manual for my sewing machine, reading all about fabric, watching YouTube videos of how to like make stuff, how to set up my sewing machine. Like it was such a journey just trying to figure out how to do everything. But it was really rewarding because like I can say now proudly, I taught myself how to do it. So when I pick something that I want to create, usually it's like I want to hone these skills or I want to get better at doing X. So probably later on tonight and for the rest of the year, and it's funny you said it's Princess Day, I'm going to be working on Rapunzel because I've never really made like a gown. I do not consider myself a princessy person. And so this is a challenge for me, and it's also to break me out of my shell because this is not niche at all. This is not what I'm accustomed to. So I said to myself, like, okay, well, what if you did it? And what if it was really dope? And what if you looked amazing? So I'm like, okay, well, why not try it? And when it comes to buying cosplays, if there's something really quick that I want to do, I'll buy it. A lot of people have said like, oh, only like fake cosplayers buy their cosplay, which isn't true. Like if you buy it, great. If you make it, great. Like I don't care either way. I buy things like because it's easy, or if I need to go somewhere and I need to do something, I buy it. I mean, we can't go anywhere now, so like we've got all the time in the world. But at the same time, if I don't feel like my expertise can be shown in something, or if something just straight up, I'm being honest, if it looks just too hard, I'm not going to do it. I'll buy it. I don't mind buying it.
And so to talk about that, and I think this sort of leads into what I was also asking a little bit, because you answered part of my question, and the other part is that obviously when you buy something, you have to make sure that it fits and that it's appropriate, and that's a
Yeah.
whole different challenge with that,
Yeah.
and that can be very complicated, and not even the shirt or the pants or elements, but even cowls and masks can be very complicated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if you have characters that wear masks. I don't think you do for the most part, but like
No.
there's
And
been
that's on purpose.
there's been horror stories where people have bought Batman masks and they don't fit, and then they had to modify it. And I said DJ
Yeah.
Croft on, and I love the guy. Guy's great, nicest human being in the world. And so if he's watching and he's seeing this, nicest person in the world, super cool in so many ways. But he had to modify his Batman mask, even though he bought what it was supposed to look like, because it didn't
Right.
fit and it wasn't the right thing. And so that's a whole different problem. And then also when you buy things and buy pre-made costumes, it can be very expensive, and people charge
Can be.
ridiculous amounts of money. So how do you balance all that? And also, I want to just break the myth. Sometimes these pre-made costumes and people who do commissions, they're just the best thing on the market also, and
Oh yeah.
you can't beat it. You can't beat it,
Yep.
And so why even try to compete with that if it's perfect as it is? Why try to beat it? So I'm just curious on
Yeah.
all that.
Hmm. Those are good questions. So there are certain things that I will say, okay, I'll buy this. Like Zentai suits, the full body suits. A lot of Spider-Man cosplayers will get a Zentai suit. And Zentai Zone has some of the nicest patterns and the best suits. They're great quality. They fit me like a glove. Like I could close my eyes and buy for them and not worry about the sizing because it fits perfectly. And they have like a lot of like they have detachable gloves. They've got the zippers in the arms. They have you could do like shoe parts on the bottom of your feet, so you don't have to worry about like walking around at a con. Yeah, I'll go and buy it because they're really good quality. Like you said, it's the best on the market. I mean, weigh the odds. Can I spend, if I spend a hundred and something dollars on this Zentai suit that I don't have to do anything to, or am I going to spend $300 trying to get fabric, make it, spray paint, airbrush, do a stencil? Like, do I want to do that, or do I want to just have it custom made? So you gotta weigh your options and depend. It depends on your comfortability and your expertise. Really, that's how I just turn it. You had a second question.
Yeah, so how do you balance the costs of all of this? Because this gets expensive, and I mean, I'm going to take a leap of faith here and say you're not a millionaire, because I'm not a millionaire
I am
either.
not.
So that no shade is being thrown here, but
No, no, not at all.
I mean, it's a fair question to the point where this does get expensive and things
Yeah,
get out of hand and you get involved in something and well, and cosplay can be cheap and it doesn't have to be expensive, but it does add up.
yeah. How do I make it not crazy expensive? Because it does add up. Like I said, I'm cheapo cosplay. Um, I love sales. I love bargains. Um, I will try to make it, and I'll make it really durable. So in February for CosplayCon, I was a part of a Disney Carnival group, and my Disney princess. I guess I have done princess stuff. That's funny. So my Disney princess was Shuri because she's the best Disney princess. So Shuri, it took me a week to make that cosplay, which I'm I'm going to toot my own horn. That shit came out really good for a week. But and I'll post pictures of this later. But I used cardboard, wooden skewers, some scrap fabric, jewels that I had lying around the house, and some feathers that I just had. So like I think the final cost of that cosplay was $100. And like really do try to budget myself depending on where I'm going and like where I'm going and what I'm doing because cons are expensive, like you said. TaxiCon is a very large con, and for the 4 day weekend, it's like $600 to stay in the Gaylord, and that's like and $600 I think like for the 4 rooms. I mean, and that's not even food or alcohol or photo shoots and like so it really does add up after a while. Cons here in New York are maybe 150 for 3 days or 4 days. And like I don't have to worry about food as much because I live here clearly, or somewhere to stay because I live here. But it's still like it's New York City, everything's expensive. And then you also have to pay your photographer for photos. So I think the best way I can't give advice to people about keeping it cheap, but I would recommend that to broaden your horizons when it comes to making things and creativity because like I said, Shuri was under $100. Like I really just used cardboard and like bits of things that I had around the house. I'm trying to think of I don't know if there's a cosplay that I've spent over $200 on. I can't think of a single one because I just I love this hobby, but I don't want to break the bank on this hobby. And I know it's an expensive hobby as well. And like you said, I'm not a millionaire. Like this is what I do for fun. I come home and do this. Like I have a job. So I can't, I've got a job, I've got bills, I've got to be a real adult and like finance things properly. So I, have to be responsible. I do know, like I do have a Ko-fi up, and sometimes people do donate, and that's great. I'm surprised that people even do that because it's like I cry a little bit when they do. I'm like, oh, you guys support me, but yeah, I just try my best to be as creative as possible. Um, and being creative as possible means sometimes spending as little money as possible. Maybe in 20 years I can buy a $300 suit, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, no, I think cons are very expensive, especially if you're traveling. It gets out of hand very quickly, and that's an element
Oh
of cosplay that I actually categorize separately because I view that as a con expense and not as a cosplay expense. And I think that that's something that needs to be spoken about and addressed in a very different way. Where I go to a bunch of cons, or I used to, and now I don't. I usually go to about one a year, and I go local
okay,
and I mean I live in
okay, okay.
DC for the reason is that it becomes cheaper when it's in your neighborhood and you're not paying for a hotel and not paying for food or you're paying for your lunch versus paying for lunch
Right, right.
and breakfast. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's the difference between $30 and $90 on food.
yeah. It is.
And
I mean,
Big,
I've
big difference.
I've been in rooms where people like have like rice cookers and crock pots and like they make food while at the con. And the first time I saw this, I was like, "Can you do that? Is that allowed?" And it's like nobody cares. And I'm like, "This is genius!" Like people like make ramen, like people do all types of stuff in the con room. I'm like, "This is brilliant!" Like that's how you keep the cost down, though.
Well, I'm not a room sharer, and I and I do business at cons. It's very different when you're into comic books and a variety of other stuff, and you're negotiating several deals and other things and spending a lot of money in comic books. It's very different. It's very different, everybody. So clearly, I have my own theories, but we're not talking about me. And in my world, skewers are used for a very different thing, and a bunch of the people who have been on my show will also agree with me, but we don't have to talk about what they're used for publicly. So, moving on from there, and I promise that it's not safe for work, but it's not safe for work for a different reason than what everybody's thinking at the moment. But hey,
You're fun.
ICW no holds bar, guys. ICW no holds bar. That's all I'm gonna say, and that's code for somebody's gonna get it in this stream here. So, but anyhow, let's talk about Pokemon because you've done a few Pokemon, and you've done an Articuno, and that one's feathery. It's interesting. It's definitely, I think, early on. And so I like this one a lot because it's got sort of a hooded mask. You got wings, you got feathers. Legendary bird, obviously, Gen 1 is what I grew up on. So, what did
Yeah.
what was the build on that? What was the process on that? What was it like to build it? Because I don't think people really do Articuno and Gen 1 anymore all that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I did a Carnival Disney group. My parents are from the West Indies. I'm a proud West Indian. I tell people this all the time. And like most West Indian countries, we have Carnival, we have crop over. And people dress up in feathers and beads, and it's a celebration of emancipation when slaves were emancipated. So I said to myself, I'm like, okay, but I want my culture to be shown through in cosplay. So my motto now is like cosplay, but make it West Indian. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to bring like carnival elements into cosplay? And so I'm like, oh, it'd be really cute if I did like, the legendary birds, because when I think of carnival costumes, I think of feathers and I think of birds. And birds are beautiful. I love birds. So I was scrolling through the internet, trying to get inspiration, and I saw Articuno, and I'm like, that art's beautiful. I love it. So I used that as like the basis. I messaged the artist. They were like, yeah, I made that like 10 years ago. Go ahead, do whatever you want. And I'm like, perfect, great. Got their blessing. I'm set. So I drew out Articuno on graph paper. That's how I start a lot of my cosplays. I draw every detail out, and I write out every detail, and I write out how I'm gonna do it, where I'm gonna get the materials, like what's it gonna look like, and I literally like write everything out so that my brain like gets it, and I have like a clear map of how to do things. Because cosplay can be really overwhelming if you don't have like a clear path of how to do things. Okay, so I did that. First thing I did was I got a dress that was like that feathery material, and I found that dress. I'm gonna price it out so we can do like a price calculator to see how much I spend. All right, so I got the dress. That was $16, and that was perfect. It was spaghetti straps and feathery, and actually really warm. And it was for Katsucon, and I'll explain why later. And then I did the cape. This was the first time me trying to learn how to cape. And so you just saw me like in my house, like flopping around, trying to get it cut perfectly. And one of my girlfriends helped me like cut it so it fit my body. That that piece of, I think it's a type of felt. It's like a very soft felt that was $3 a yard. I got 2 yards, so we're at $6. So 6 and 16 is 32. That's how we have so much. I bought a pack, 2 packs of 10, 10? I think 2 packs of 100 white feathers from Amazon. Those were like $20 each. So 40, 32, we're at like 70 something now. I glued the feathers. I had to glue at home. So I glued the feathers onto the cape. And then I had clear bra straps and I like sewed those bra straps onto the cape so I could like wear it up. The bra straps are free because I had them at home. The headpiece, I had craft foam at home and beads. So I just made that attached to the headband that I had. That's also free. The wig was expensive. Okay, so the wig was $40, but I like try not to count it, mainly because I use it for like a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, $40. So we're like 70 and 40. I can't do math. What's 70 plus 40?
Like
Sorry guys,
110,
I can't do math.
110,
So how much?
100.
110. Okay, 110. Yeah, 110. And then the tights I wore like flesh tone tights only because I knew I was going to be outside and it's cold. And I bought a pair of white boots, which was $30. So we're at 140. So yeah, under 200. So put all of those elements together, started like, and you can see on Instagram on my Instagram highlight, I have like bits and pieces of me like putting it all together and again like flapping around in my house. And then playing with makeup was kind of fun because I wanted to have like a beak like on from my nose and like lots of blue and glitter. Because again, Carnival, we have tons of sequins and glitter and feathers. It's about like as bright and as elaborate as you can get. So I did all of that, did up my makeup. And then the photo shoot. It was 20 degrees out in the DMV area. That's where Capsicon is held. And it was snowing. The dress was a tank top and all I had was a cape. And I'm pretty sure my fingernails were blue, but like I wasn't gonna let that spoil. So my photographer, his name's Von Reed on Instagram. If you are also in the DMV area, hit him up because he's amazing. He was such a good sport. He had his sweater on and he kept asking if I was okay, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I was not fine. But I kept playing Immigrant Song in my head to keep me motivated. So you just hear like, ah, and I would do that while we were taking photos to keep him laughing, to keep myself laughing so that we didn't freeze out there. So walking around as Articuno in the freezing cold was such an ordeal, but it was so rewarding. Like that is one of my favorite cosplays because I made it, like pretty much made everything myself and put a whole bunch of pieces together and like, made it cosplay but with West Indian. And then I submitted it to Cosplay Realm magazine and it got in and I really wanted to be in a magazine. I've always said like, oh, one day I'm going to be in a cosplay magazine. And that was a big goal of mine. I had submitted to them previously and I didn't get in. So getting in this time was like a big deal to me. I remember like I screamed. I was at work like screaming because I was just so overjoyed. Why Legendary Birds? That Pokemon movie has stuck in my head because I don't know. I just thought it was like a really cool movie. Like every other little kid who liked Pikachu and, just like Pokemon as a kid, I was like, this is great. I love this movie. And, like everyone's mom calls everything a Pikachu. So like that kind of stayed with me. So my goal is to do all 3 Legendary Birds. I was going to do Moltres this year, but I couldn't because again, COVID. But the Galar version of Moltres, which is like black with red, pink, and it's like the color scheme is so cool. And I really wanted to do it really big and ornate and compete with it. But of course, couldn't do it because of COVID.
And then let's just jump to Nessa because we already started talking about her and everything that she does. Sort of Shield gym leader, obviously from Halberry Stadium is her gym. Just kind of cool. And this cosplay kind of fits you very well in many ways.
Thank you.
And so you bought most of it. I think is what you said before. and you made the hair and you sort of went through that process. But what was it even like just taking something that's already out there? Obviously, the cosplay and what you bought is somewhat of a swimsuit in many ways. I think is a safe assumption. And so, what was that like taking something that's already built and then building on it with the accessories and all that stuff and adding to it and further, I hate to use the word like embellishing it, but building out the rest of it and really bringing it out because as the cosplay sits that you bought, I think it would have been perfectly fine with her hair and all that stuff, but adding those other little touches to it really brought it from being what is store bought to now being customized and really brought out the character and the cosplay. And I think that's something that people should take note of. So, what was that like going that extra mile? Because it does show things, and I think it also breaks the myth that you don't need to buy, you don't need to make everything yourself.
Right.
I'm in the middle of a class where you can outsource certain components of what you're doing, and businesses do it all the time. And I don't know why it's such a dirty thing in cosplay.
Yeah, I don't know why people have that stipulation as well. I don't pay attention to it. I kind of just ignore it and like you said, embellish it. And embellishing is a fine word to use because that's more or less what I'm doing. Um, I I have a moment when I'm cosplaying where it's like a light bulb goes off, like how Jimmy Neutron would be like brain blast. It's like that when you're like, oh yeah, this is me. This looks good. This is my moment. I'm gonna rock this. I feel great. And so with Nessa, and this was like the universe telling me that this was the cosplay. I was looking for a necklace, and it's funny. I think I have. Yeah, I have the necklace right here. I could not find this necklace for like 2 years. I had no idea where it was. I could never find it. And then I like went in my room and it was like on my dresser. Just there. It was just sitting there. And I'm like, this I've been looking for this for the whole time. It was the perfect color. It like tied everything in. And then I was like, oh, well, Nessa has bracelets. Let's get her a cool bracelet. I found the perfect bracelet. She has hoop earrings. Found the perfect hoop earrings. Like everything just kind of like fell into place. And then that was my like, yeah, this is it. This is coming together. And I like those moments because it makes me me. I like to add things on, and like to add my own little flair to things because I think the best part of cosplaying is when you make it your own. Like, yeah, I could be like everyone else, or I could look like everyone else, but I'm not everyone else. I want to be unique. I want to be myself.
And then there's some fun photos with this, definitely involving the pool, and I think that's clever. And that kind of
So,
brings an element, and I'm gonna drop it because it's my show, but it brings an element of sexiness to it, a little bit of that into it, throwing that out there, as well as it's a water gym Pokemon. I think that's the other thing that people forget. It's kind of like if you did a fire gym, Flannery from the Hoenn region, and you were sitting on top of
right, right.
a volcano, we get that
That's
elemental
just
thing into it, and I think that also adds a
right.
lot to it, and it also creates instant connection with people's minds when you have a big pool of water and you're the water Pokemon gym and you look like you're water, because this character, this
Yeah,
cosplay does, everything kind of clicks in the head and everybody gets it
I
faster.
did.
So, what was that like taking all those photos and engaging and having fun with that? Because obviously, it makes the cosplay come out more. Environments matter.
And yeah, and the more I cosplay and the more I take pictures, the more I'm realizing how environments are really important. So my photographer is my boyfriend, and he's really good at like he's fantastic at posing, and he's fantastic at finding like really good backgrounds, backdrops, elements, like where to place me. And I love him for it because I don't know. I'm like, let me just take a picture in front of a wall. He's like, no, 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 you gotta set it up. You gotta set the stage. So he was already in the water taking pictures of other cosplayers, and I was just by the pool taking pictures because the material of it, it's not a full swimsuit. It's like a lightweight material. It dries quickly, but it wasn't a swimsuit. I wasn't gonna go in the water. I just wanted to be near the water. And he's like, no, 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 you have to be in the water. It's not gonna look good if you're not in the water. So I'm like, all right, fine. I guess I'll go in the water. And like, that's my favorite photo. That photo is so bomb. And you're right. Like the background really does add to it. Earlier this year, I did Cora photos, and my girlfriends helped me take those pictures. And they were like, you have to do this by a lake. You have to do it by a body of water. Yes, Cora is a avatar, and she has like all the elements, but like she's a water tribe bender. Like you need to be in the water. And I'm like, all right, fine, fine, fine. Let's go by a lake. And so those pictures came out so nice because it was like the atmosphere and the lighting and all of it just looked so serene and beautiful. I'm like, this is it. This is what being an avatar is all about. So, like you said, finding the right element, the right backdrop is great. And it depends on the character. You have to pay attention to your character. So Darla is one of my favorite cosplays to do because it's a bodysuit. It's easy to wear. And she's a little kid, she's a little kid on the inside. So she's really goofy and fun. And that's me. I'm really goofy. So, I get to like take silly pictures and like run on tracks and like pretend I'm a little kid. So like all of that really ties into it. People forget, a big part of cosplay used to be emulating the character and like showing their personality. People don't do it as much now, but that is an element that also plays into it.
Yeah, and I think the Korra is a good thing to talk about because obviously people know Korra. Avatar is only getting bigger at this point. Back,
Yeah.
I think in May, I had Jesse Flowers who plays Tophon, and and so I had Jesse Flowers on. I'm gonna go let you grab your charger for a second.
Thank you. I'm still listening.
And so just to talk about this, so obviously Avatar: The Last Airbender and then Korra was like the number one show on Netflix for a good week,
Yeah.
and a bunch of people who sort when they were kids were seeing it again for the first time in a while, and a bunch of their kids were seeing it. And me and Jessie were speaking about it. She plays Toph, and obviously Korra's going forward. The Kyoshi books are killing it right now with the Avatar universe. Empire of Rune. I don't know if you read the graphic novel, the second Korra graphic novel that came out. So
I haven't.
Turf Wars came out,
The
and then the
Kyoshi books. Oh my god.
second
The
one,
Kyoshi books are like some of my favorite books of all time.
and then even the Avatar. Like there's a new Avatar, the Last Airbender book that just came out a few months ago, and so obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in that world. So what is it like for you to play this character? And also, you took sort of. I don't want to say it the way I don't know how to say it otherwise, but I think you took a little bit more of a simplistic approach to it versus
Mm-hmm.
the more overcomplicated approach. And I've seen a bunch of different versions of Korra, and so, but it works and it's kind of cool and it's a nice vibe where it's just it's more I guess reserved for lack of a better word. So what was like that thought
Sure.
process? And obviously, I'm sure there's a bunch of better words out there, but and I'm not
No,
picking the
it's
right
it's
word.
fine.
I know I'm not picking the right word, and I admit when I'm out of a word choice. But anyhow, the point still stands. Where what was that like?
I'm really casual, so like you don't have to worry about word choice. It's cool. Picking out an outfit for Cora was really hard because I knew I was going to a really nice spot. I wanted to bring like a nice cosplay for the spot, for, the lake that I took a picture on, but I didn't know if I wanted to do Cora and I didn't know if I wanted to do Katara. I think I personally, I hate that I have to admit this, align more with Korra than I do with Katara. I feel like Katara is she's very grounded. She's very self-aware, and she is grounded and a little reserved. I feel like she's very pragmatic. And I think that Korra is like a little bit more headstrong. She's very action based. She's like action now, think later. I'm about that action. And I think I align with that way more than I do Katara. I admire Katara because of her level headedness. And I wish I had those values in myself. Toph is my favorite. Let's just say that for the record. But I wanted to cosplay Korra. Okay, picking, like I said before, color palettes are really important. So I wanted to go of that color scheme of like a light blue on dark, close navy blue, and elements of white and brown. So I really wanted to make her full outfit, but I just did not have enough time. So I got a few like staple pieces, I like to call them, a few base pieces that I put together and then like kind of comprise them all together, and that's how I made it. Um, I guess my process for core, and like core was very easy to do, and I tell people like you don't have to sew to be a great cosplayer. You can just like add things together and you can be a great cosplayer. Because like my Korra, like tons of people saw it and a lot of people loved it. I'm really proud of those photos because like it was like, all right, let's throw something together and make it really cool. And I think it turned out great.
I like them too, and I think the photos are very cool because obviously you have that water bending thing going on with Korra on a rock, and it's very, very cool that it's done in that style. And I recommend people go find those photos and look at them because it is really cool. It captures the essence of what Korra is. And just for the record, I did a written interview with Janet Varney, who plays Korra, back in the day.
That's so
So
dope.
so I did a written
That's
interview.
so
Very cool moment for me, but I digress. And some other stuff is out there too, so everybody can deal with that accordingly. But anyhow, let's dive into some more anime stuff because I know you got a bunch of My Hero Academia cosplays. You have Froppy, Froggy character.
yeah.
You got her.
Yeah.
You have the female of the big three, and then you have a plus ultra cheerleader, which is could be anybody technically. So, what is your
Right.
connection with My Hero Academia to start? Because obviously that's a big anime. It's kind of one of the big things that Funimation does, along with Attack on
Yeah.
Titan.
Yeah.
Food Wars might be a minor three in many ways. Obviously, Attack on Titan, One Piece is still kicking,
Demon
DBZ is still
Slayer.
kicking in Funimation, and obviously My Hero and Attack on Titan are the new kids on the block, along with Black Clover. So what is your
Oh my
connection?
god, yes.
So what is your connection with My Hero Academia and all of those three cosplays and what you did with them? Because obviously some of them are your favorites, and you were supposed to wear one of them for Anime NYC.
Oh my god. Actually, no, it was last year Anime NYC. I was jury, one of the big three. Um, I think because she's brilliant. She's very cute. She's incredible. Like spirals and sound waves and all of that. I'm like, yo, like she's such an unassuming character that you're like, oh, she's just one of those cool smart girls. Okay, great. And then you like think about what she does and you're like, wait a minute, that's awesome. I feel the same way about Momo, but I like Momo because she's a scientist and like she's really cool and I'm here with her. I really like My Hero because I think it's pretty much Japanese X-Men. My niece loves to watch it, so like I like already I love it anyway. I love the story of the underdog. I consider myself the underdog. So characters that started from the bottom, now we're here, like go all the way up, like work themselves to the bone, really try hard in everything, and people they're slept on. People don't think that they have what it takes. I love those characters because I feel like that about my life a lot. And so I really identify with a lot of those type of characters, and I feel like My Hero has such a plethora of really great characters. I need to read the manga. I was confused. So I need to read the manga because watching the anime, I think, is like it's not caught up, and there's so many different elements, especially the girls, because Mina Ashido is a weird alien who like spits out acid and can like slide on it. That's dope. Momo is super cool. Froppy is like hella cute, but like still she's a frog. Like that's all of this is so cool. Like the girls are so awesome, and I feel like we don't get enough of them. So like I want to get more into them. But back into the question. So I love My Hero because I love the villains. I love how different. I want to say different. It's a very common story, but I like the way that they're doing it. I like the different characters. I like how kind of ridiculous and niche the characters are. Like, oh god, Ida is just, he's like the teacher's pet, and he's so perfect, and he's like a prefect, and he has to do everything right. And then Deku is just like, a sweet little boy who's kind, and Bakugo's everyone's fucking bully. Like, it's so middle school. Like, it feels real. I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to watch this. This is my life. So I love it. I love and I love to like rag on it too, because that's what makes it fun. It's realistic. And although they all have superpowers, it's still cool to see.
Yeah, my hero is a lot of fun in many ways. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's getting very very interesting to say the least. And if you know what's coming down the pike, it gets even more interesting with everything that's going on. And we're just gonna leave it at that on My Hero Academia because I think
Can we talk
everybody
about?
knows it and it's been beaten down
Yeah,
to a pulp in
yeah,
many
yeah,
ways.
yeah. But
So
can we please talk about Black Clover, because I think it's really slept on, and I loved it.
So I think Black Clover is over pumped up, but I think it's amazing, and I think there's so much hype with Black Clover. Just to make my point clear on Black Clover, I think it's over hyped up, but I think it's really good, and I think if they underhyped it, it would be what it would if it's the saying goes, under promise over deliver. And I feel with Black Clover, it over promises and meets the expectation, but then the bar isn't like, oh, that's amazing. Like Attack on
Okay.
Titan under promises and over delivers by definition. And now going into the final season, we all know what to expect. Ruby is also like that. Black Clover, they set the bar and then they meet the bar or go a little bit over, but now there's nothing to be desired with Black Clover.
Okay.
That
Okay.
that's my
I
view
can.
on it as an anime.
Um, Again, Asta is the complete underdog, and in a world with magic, he's the one person without magic, and the fact that that is really a strength is amazing. That's how I. So I think I started them at the same time, Black Clover and My Hero at around the same time. So I was hoping that they would be similar in that aspect. And then when Deku got his powers from All Might, I was like, okay, I guess this is cool. Like, it's fine, whatever. But then Asta never got his powers and never got, his. Well, I forgot what they call the book. Anyway, he never got the book thing. And so this whole time, I'm like, you're telling me he has no magic, no mana, nothing? He's amazing. This is great. In the world without magic, this one kid doesn't have it. And he always comes on top. He's always fighting to be the best. He's always working hard. He's at like number 984 push-ups. Like, he's a great character. And they do like little mini episodes with each of the Black Bulls too. And I love learning about them. Like, I always call him, I think it's not Ghosh, but it's, I call him Marilyn Manson. I like nickname everyone. Fake Marilyn Manson, who uses poison magic and comes from a family of alchemists who all specialize in poison magic and medicine. Brilliant. So cool. And the fact that he's actually really, really sweet, but like looks kind of scary. I love that. Even Noelle and her whole family ridiculousness is so, it's like a little heart wrenching to like to realize like the shit that she has to go through, but still is it's a cool element. The Fugelion siblings are they're like my favorite of the whole series. I could talk about Black Clover for hours. Like, I really love the series. I'm surprised I don't have any Black Clover merch, but I will get there.
I could tell a story about Noelle, but and then her voice actor, but I'm not going to because it's not a pleasant one. It changes the perception. Where sometimes I'll just say it this way: sometimes the people who you enjoy aren't the greatest people in the world, and the people who don't seem like you'd enjoy them are. And it's a weird thing in society. And we're going to
Yeah.
leave it at that with Black Clover. But I do want to talk about another hero because I am a Teen Titans fanatic. I am a big Teen Titans fan. I have a DC Presents number 26. I have a signed copy of Starfire, the new
Oh my
52
god.
version by Amanda Connor and Jimmy, and I can't say his name, but the husband and wife team for those signed, and it's a 9.8, and it's a beautiful book. And you did a version of Starfire, and then you sort of went rogue, for lack of a better word. So you did it. You did the NASA version first, which is cool because NASA and SpaceX just launched their first mission together with people involved a few days ago, and I watched that on TikTok, which was awesome to watch on TikTok. So that's cool in that regard. And then you did Blackfire, from my understanding. And Blackfire, obviously, Starfire and Blackfire have issues in the Teen Titans, and there's some interesting history between the two of them in the DC comic universe. So, what is the story with these two?
Whew. So I also really love Teen Titans. That was my favorite show growing up. Um, I liked that Starfire was just so weird. She's an alien and she doesn't get stuff, and she also loves mustard. And I'm like, that's me. I like it. I like her bubbly personality. I liked how she was about her friends and cared a lot about them, and but also very lighthearted and kind and sweet. And I, again, try to pick characters that I feel adjacent towards or feel like there's a connection to. So that's why I did the Gabriel Piccolo version, her NASA, her, I guess, modern day version. I actually met Gabriel Piccolo. I showed him pictures, um, and he was like, "This is amazing! I love it!" And I was like, "Oh," freaking out because it was cool to have the artist recognize you and appreciate your cosplay, emulating their art. He also posted me on his Instagram, and I lost my shit that day. That was a good day. So then Blackfire. So my girlfriend, um, Pink Mason, everyone go follow her because she's amazing. She makes every single thing by hand. She is very talented. Please go follow her. She was doing Starfire. I think she said she was like, oh, I was gonna do Starfire, or we always do Starfire and Blackfire, or Starfire and Donna Troy, or Starfire Raver. Like we've done that together before. So this time the Starfire that she picked was, I want to say it's Justice League Odyssey, but I could be wrong. I don't remember which comic it's from. That was a year ago. But the design she picked, I'm like, this is awesome. This is so cool. I would love to do Blackfire with you. She's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Now, Pink Mason is has been sewing for God knows how long. She is an armor smith. She is a seamstress. She does everything, and she's so good at it. And I just started sewing. So like I kept saying to myself, I'm like, okay, she's gonna look really, really good. And it's not a competition. I just want to live up to her standard as well because she looks amazing. And I want to look amazing just like her. Like she's a big inspiration to me, even before I met her and became her friend. So I said, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be Blackfire. And Blackfire is in her own right really badass. Like a little horrifying and big on the genocide thing, which I'm not for, but she's a badass character. She's ferocious. She doesn't take shit from anybody, and I'm like, that's it. That's what I stand for. Genocide, no. Ferocious, not taking shit, definitely. So the process was finding the spandex, learning how to cast gems, making her armor pieces, um, and making boot covers. And some of these techniques I have never done before. So uh, maybe I think the Thursday before New York Comic Con, I was like with my Dremel, like going at it, making the armor pieces, spraying, like freaking out because I needed cosplayers wait until last minute, like we always do. And so freaking out that it wasn't going to come out good. And then we stood next to each other and she was like, oh my God, you look amazing. You did such a good job. And so many people were impressed. And I was impressed at them being impressed because I was like, guys, I pulled this out of my ass. I don't know what I'm doing. I just looked up stuff and somehow it came together. And then we took pictures, and then DC came up to us and was like, hey, can we take your photo? Can we put you on Instagram? Can you sign this waiver? Can you just sign this here? Here, there's your name. Put your name there. And I was cracking up because I'm like, where did they even come from? So it was like a whirlwind of a weekend to do that. I have not worn Blackfire since then. I told myself that I would remake it and make her a little more armored. Maybe do like some armored, like an armored arm. Does that sound weird? A little armored arm. And I wanted to do a cape because I have a cape that I made with like constellations and stuff on it. So I was like, all right, let's make her a little more badass, a little more ferocious.
And obviously, you answered how it was received because obviously DC was interested, and so from a corporate level, it was received
Yeah.
well. And obviously, I'm gonna go on a leap of faith that the fans liked it and people liked it as well. But let's talk about Shazam and Darla. I actually have a Pop Funko signed by the actress who plays her. Uh,
Really?
nobody's interested in buying it on eBay, but that's neither here nor there. I also have one from Pedro, but that's a different discussion as well. And purple's a lot of fun. So how did all that cosplay come together? Because obviously you like doing this one. Obviously, there's a kid inside and all that stuff. So what's the story behind Shazam? Because obviously some people love Shazam, some people don't, and it's a weird movie in the DC universe.
It's a weird movie, and I don't know why. It was really good. So, um, again, my photographer and boyfriend actually, he has cosplayed Shazam before, and so he like met Zachary Levi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he met him at the premiere, and then he was like, "Oh, we should go and watch it together." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we went and watched it, and Darla came on screen. Little Darla came on screen, and I was just like, "Oh my god, she's so cute!" And she had like big pigtails and glasses, and that's how I looked as a kid. And I'm like, oh, "She's adorable. I want to be her." And I'm like, "She's so precious. I love this little girl." So then, and it's not a spoiler because this movie's old. So then the movie, you got to the end, and she's played by Megan Good. And I saw her super suit, and I was blown away. And I looked at him in the movie. I'm like, I have to cosplay her. There's end of discussion. I have to do it. And then went back to watching the movie. And Santa, and she's like, "I was really good this year. Am I gonna get my presents?" And he looked at me and he laughed. He's like, "That's you. That's entirely you." So I saw that and I'm like, "This is it. I have to be Darla. It's perfect." I also love Megan Good, and because she's beautiful, and I've looked up to her as well. So this was a interesting cosplay to make because this is the first time I used spandex. Again, my sewing machine is from the 70s.
Super old, and it doesn't work on spandex. It's not meant for spandex. So I got a pattern and I cut it out wrong. So I threw that away. Then I got the same pattern and got new spandex and actually read the directions and then started sewing. Asked my girlfriend to teach me how to install the zipper, made like the little parts of it, made the emblem, made the belt, and my favorite part. Have you seen light up sneakers?
I know Light Up Sneakers. Naomi in WWE has them. Are you a WWE fan? Have you seen those? They're dope as fuck.
They're so goofy. So I got light up sneakers. I sprayed them gold, and because I'm a track runner, I was a runner all my life. I got craft foam and I made them into wings, and I put them on her sneakers, so it would look like Mercury, like with the track symbol, because that's who I am. Sprayed them gold, charged my light up sneakers, and there's pictures of me like with the sneakers in the background lit up. Um, I love that cosplay. It's so much fun. It's fun to be a cute, goofy character who's really a superhero, cares about her family. That's who I am, and Yeah, that is definitely up there with my favorite. And making everything myself was a whole different feeling because like I look at it now and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I made that." Like, "Oh, that's dope." But then when I sit and I think, I'm like, "Holy shit, you made that whole thing yourself. That's impressive." Like, good job.
And so, what is that like? Because obviously, the reception and Shazam, and it's a cool cosplay, and even it seems like it's a milestone from what I'm hearing from you, where there is you before Darla and you after Darla. And I don't say that not to be mean, but it seems like you evolved. Not to make a Pokemon reference, but obviously it seems progress forward in many ways where everybody has a moment where and I'll speak from my world where there are interviews that have changed the game where it's like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
now at level 2 for just the analogy purposes, or now I'm at level 3, or now the show took a hard right and is going in a different direction that has 10 doors instead of one. And that's what
Right.
this cosplay seems for you.
Yeah, I guess so. I never really looked at it like that.
It's important to recognize when we evolve.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I think I think making it all by myself was it. I guess I evolved because this was the first time I'm like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be great. And like I pep talk myself into it. And I don't remember having a moment where I'm like, this isn't gonna look good. Because I have those moments every day. I'm not throwing a pity party, but I do have a lot of self doubt, especially when it comes to cosplay. Because in everything in life, there's always going to be someone better than you. So I'm always like, what if this looks terrible and people make fun of me for it? What if this looks like trash and A, I'm not recognizable, or B, like it falls apart? And so I said, I'm like, no, I'm going to be Darla. I'm going to wear cool sneakers. I'm going to make the cape and I'm going to be awesome. Like, I'm going to do it. So I really, like, I was just powering away at it. And even when I cut it out wrong the first time, I think I was in self doubt mode for all of 5 seconds. And like the next day, I'm like, okay, let's go get fabric. That's fine. Let's get new fabric. And then I did. Um, I guess, so that's one milestone. And I think another milestone for me was earlier this year, I made a dress. I made a dress for Valentine's Day because I went out to a party. Um, and this time I didn't use a pattern and I just draped it. Um, and I was using a different type of fabric, and this was my first time using my new sewing machine. So lots of different new elements had I just threw it all in all together, and the dress was beautiful. I was a little apprehensive that I didn't know what I was doing and wasn't going to come out great, but um I will say like my family was really supportive. Like every day I would work on it a little bit and they would just like look at it and they're like, this is beautiful. They're like, I can't believe you made this. And I'm like, it's not good yet. And they were astounded because they can't do it, but like I'm just like, oh, it looks terrible. But yeah, it was really supportive. It was great that they were so supportive and so amazed that I can make that. And I think as cosplayers, we critique ourselves all the time, but like every other average person on the street is like, you made that whole thing yourself? What the fuck? Like, where did you get the time? How did you learn how to do this? Like, you're so talented. Like they see it differently. So if we would think about it like that a little bit more, we'd be fine. Me in particular, like I'd be fine.
And now I want to ask you about two more slash one more cosplay. And I know I'm going to be missing a bunch, and my mom is in the other room, and she's going to shoot me just so everybody knows, and I could hear her rustling around. Hopefully nobody else can, but you also going beyond Darla, which was a milestone. I don't know if this came before or after, but you did Red Sonja and you did a Vampirella, and you were on their covers for one of them. I don't know which one exactly, but what was that entire build like? And more importantly, what was it like that Dynamite called you up? Because Dynamite is a similar publisher to Dark Horse and Zenoscope in
Yep.
that realm, where they're not one of the big two slash big three, which is Marvel, DC, and Image, but they
Right.
always are finding their audience and finding new ways how to engage in the comic industry. And I don't know if you know that or not, but it's not something that people who are not into comics know, where they are very much sort of a second tier publisher versus the
Mhm.
first tier. But they also find their audience and find clever ways how to get connected to their audience, hence they've gone the cosplay route. And so how
Right.
did that conversation come up? And how did that all come about? And what was that like? Because it is cool in many ways. And it is a moment where it's like, oh, a company that has recognition, that has a fan base, likes my cosplay, likes my representation, likes the way I did this, and wants to feature me on their book and have me represented and introduce me to their audience in many ways.
Whew. So the
No
build
pressure. No pressure.
so the build was hard. I am a firm believer in stepping out of your comfort zone, especially when it permits. I am not really one to wear like skimpier cosplays. I don't really show off my body that much. Just not like I'm not ashamed. I just like it just doesn't like it didn't click to
It's
me.
not a sector you want to be in, is a good way
Right.
to put it.
Yeah. And so I I picked Red Sonja because I was like, oh, but she's really badass. Like I love badass women. So okay, I want to be a badass. Okay, let's do Red Sonja. And I'm like, oh, and I want to make a axe and I want to make a shield. Okay, great. How are you gonna do it? I didn't want to make like the bikini chainmail because that would have taken way too long. I don't have the expertise, so I bought that. I will admit I bought it. It was off Etsy. I can do that. But the axe and the shield I wanted to make because I really like making props. The shield, I am obsessed with the show Vikings, and the shield is based off of the shield maidens, so it's in their sigil. I started off with a piece of craft foam, tried to heat it, didn't work. Put it in my car for 2 days, and it got like a nice curve. Perfect. And then I just added pieces on it, and I would put googly eyes to make the grommets. I put it on my wood floor and like looked at the wood grain to figure out how to paint it. So I kind of like try to replicate it like that, especially using my Dremel tool. And then the shield was the easy part. The axe gave me so much trouble because a lot of Viking symbols are very intricate and they're hard to mimic if you don't know how to do it. So I spent like a good 3 days just like learning how to draw all of their symbols and like what their symbols mean, and like their symbols usually tell a story. So like what each shield and sorry each shield each um weapon that they have tells a story of like where the weapon came from or what the weapon is supposed to represent. So the axe represents the strength of being a woman. So I like had to like carve all of this in and like make it really intricate and really cool, and then I sprayed it over and then you couldn't see it, so I had to carve it all over again and then paint it. Like it took a really long time, but those are two of my favorite props because of like the story behind it and the meaning behind of like why I made the props. And they're at my parents' place and my dad like has them mounted on the wall. It's like so funny because he's like, "Yeah, look at this. I made this." I'm like, "You didn't make it." But yeah, it was Red Sonja's. That was so much fun.
And
The
even going further with Dynamite, wanting to publish it and put you on the cover, because
I thought
I'll be
shield.
honest, there's a million cosplayers that do Vampirella and do Red Sonja. I have several of them. I might even have your cover. I haven't looked in a
Oh,
while, but it's one of those things where, obviously as a buyer and as somebody who buys and sells comics and puts stuff up on Instagram, that's something that I enjoy when a company does that. I enjoyed when Marvel did it. I enjoy when Zenscope does it. I enjoy when Dynamite does it and things like that. So, and obviously variant purchases are big. So what is that like for you? Because that's a milestone for cosplayers. And I mean, certain cosplayers have set that trend a little bit with that, and there's fewer companies that do it now than did it 10 years ago.
I cried the first time. And I hope the representative from Dynamite Comics, I hope she watches this. If she's watching, thank you so much. So she reached out to me, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like spam mail. And so then I like did research. I like looked, because people's signatures and emails, they have like their location and like their email address and their telephone number and all that stuff. So I like zoomed in and like did my little research and like made sure this was the real deal. And so I was sitting there like, oh holy shit, this is real. Like they wanted me to be on a cover. Oh my god. And so I'm like going through this in my head, like freaking out, and I like I cried a little bit because I was like, is this real? This is me? This is happening? Like, a random kid from Brooklyn, and I'm just a regular schmegular person, but I'm gonna be on the cover of a magazine. That's amazing. And so magazine comic, you know what I'm trying to say. But I need to grab my charger again. I'm so sorry. I freaked out, got really excited, signed the papers over, sent them the images. They got back to me. They had to delay a little bit because of COVID and everything. And then I got the comics, and I was just like, oh my God, this is real. So I gave them out to my friends, and I distributed them to people. I still have a whole bunch. And then
Which
when it,
she's gonna sell on Etsy for $15 and
yes,
sign it and
she's
send it
gonna
to you.
sell.
Just saying, just saying. It's
I
people do it. It's not a bad
it's
move.
Yeah, I've learned that I need to start selling more stuff. So then it hit comic book stores. When it hit comic book stores, I had at least 100 people DM me that they picked it up from Milwaukee to like middle of California to the edge of Florida, all over the country. And like I don't know why it didn't click in my head that this would be all over the country. And so I was like, oh shit. Oh, my comic's everywhere, isn't it? And so I was taken aback, shocked, and still really excited because, yeah, this is a huge milestone. I did not expect this to happen. Not that I didn't think I had it in me, but I didn't
You
know.
didn't think it was an option on the table.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm a regular kid from Brooklyn. Like, who would guess? I always say like 10 years ago, if you asked me in high school what does 26-year-old Vanta look like, and if somebody said like, oh, she's gonna be in 2 published magazines/comics, I would have laughed. I would be like, okay, yeah, sure. But this is a reality, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, I agree, and it's very cool in that regard, and it's exciting to be in Dynamite. And again, as I stated, Dynamite is one of those companies that definitely tries and experiments new things. They just did, I think, for like Vampirella's like 50th
Yeah,
anniversary. A bunch of
yeah.
people. Mindy Wheeler was on, and we spoke about that cover, and a variety of other people did a bunch of cover work. Keith Garvey did a cover, and he was on. I was his first published interview, which is cool, and Keith is a great guy. Keith is awesome, and a bunch of other people have done work. And I get credit from Zenoscope for that. So Zenoscope gives me credit for that. So it's official on that point.
So
Chris Sampson, and I'm going to shoot this to him and direct him at approximately a minute and 13. Thank you for giving me credit for the Keith Garvey interview because that's super important. But anyhow, enough about me. I think that's the best place to stop as far as your cosplays, and I missed a lot. I mean, I think we dealt with like maybe 40%, but I do want to talk about one more thing before I give you an opportunity to self promote, and they kind of tie into each other, but that's the entire COVID-19 situation and cons, and obviously everything in the U.S. is messed up. Things are about to get a lot tighter. I'm moving back into the tri-state area, which means that a lot of stuff's going to get tighter there as well, and we're starting to see that happen already. And New York Comic Con got shut down. San Diego got shut down. Anime NYC is going on right now. That's happening. In DC, just to give information, Awesome Con
mhm.
was supposed to happen in April, and that got pushed to August of 2021, and that was before any of this lockdown stuff. And
Yep.
KatsuCon usually happens in February, I want to say.
February.
February, Marchish, right around there. And so
February, usually February 14th weekend.
that's not going to happen. I mean, that's a safe bet by definition, and obviously cons are pushing back. So I am curious where you think all that's going, because obviously, my opinion, I'll go first, is I think it's not going to, anything's going to happen in 2021. I think it's going to be crazy. And on top of that, I also think the economy is going to be in a different state. I think people are also having a different position with money for the first time. Just really cool fact. More money in the last 10 months has been saved than spent in probably about 30 years. Where I think it was like $2 to $4 trillion every month was being saved in America because of COVID, and not because of people didn't have money, but people were saying, "Oh man, I gotta save my money," and it became a priority. And
Yeah.
you can find Dave Ramsey quoted that, and he's pretty good on those quotes, and he's very believable on those quotes. So if you type in how much money was saved and you really want the complete stat, that's there for you. Um, but even going forward off of that, I just don't see anything happening in 2021. But I'm curious where you think it's going, and what do you think has to happen in order for cons to get back to normal on both the con side and as well as for fan confidence. Because you're a
Hmm.
cosplayer and I'm a panelist, so I view it very differently
Yeah.
than everybody else, because nobody's touching me.
So,
Like,
and
if that makes any sense. Like, and I think
completely, because I'm also a panelist. So seeing it as panels, so panels are still kind of going on because there's lots of online cons. I worked with Afropunk last month to host my panel, which was great. Um,
nobody's calling me, but that's okay. I have a lot of enemies in the con world, but that's a different discussion completely. It's
I'm gonna ask
true.
about that later.
It's true. I don't play politics, and I got no problem saying it. In which that I am very much an iron wall, and people don't like it, and the people who like me love me for it. Because I don't bullshit. Like, I don't bullshit. Like, I have a panel called Comic Book Investing 101. I give it to people straight up. I'm the first person to say it, and I got no problem saying it, and I live with the consequences perfectly fine. So I'm not dependent on con money, and it's just a feather in my cap for thing. And it's a trophy to me. It's nothing but a trophy at this point.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely with that. I don't blame you for feeling that way at all. I think cons are. I'm not going to a con until 2022, maybe 2022, maybe, and that's a big maybe. And as a person who has, I can't speak to this fully because I would tie in like my personal life and my cosplay.
I'll say what you want to say. As a person who is more at risk, you
Yeah,
don't feel so comfortable going to a con where there's 40,000 people and con crud existed prior to all this, and let alone a virus that far exceeds con crud.
and not only that,
I
I
think
think
that's a fair
about
statement.
yeah, like you put it in perfect words. And I also think about the cleanliness of cons. Like besides con crowd, we all know the stereotype of like you go to conventions and people stink. I'm gonna be honest, like people smell bad. And especially as somebody who like people come up and like want to take pictures with me or want to hug me or want to like do stuff, I have to like, how are you going to social distance at a con? And it sucks because a lot of my friends are cosplayers. So like, there are people I haven't seen from February who I would have seen once a month, and I don't get to see them because of this. It sucks. It makes me really sad, and I also think about all the vendors, all the small business owners, all of the people who sell comics, people who sell merch. Like their money is tanking right now because they don't get to do it. People who are con guests, people
Sort of, but we don't have to get into the economics.
right. Like it's hard to think about, but this is the reality of the situation. And I do not feel comfortable going to conventions until 2022, maybe 2023. I
Yeah,
don't mind.
I'm not going back to a con till 2022. I've
Yeah.
already made my mind up. I have no desire to, and
Okay.
I'm a person at risk, and I don't feel comfortable. It's not even a safety thing. If they said tomorrow you could all go back, I wouldn't go. I don't feel comfortable. It's the driving force now in the con world, in my opinion, at the very least, is not necessarily what's legal or illegal anymore or the
Yeah.
guidelines. It's the fan confidence level, and it's
Yeah.
also the other thing is it's all the guest confidence levels, and it's also the guarantees of that money. It's the big money that's driving this, and the fans with that big money. It's not anything but that. And so when just to give some con insight, because it's super important to understand, some of these celebrities have a $50,000 guarantee that counts against when you buy an autograph or a photo from them, meaning that they are guaranteed X amount of money. And then what happens from that is that every autograph or photo they sell decreases that. And so if they sell 60,000, the con owes them no money and they make 10,000 on it. The con doesn't get anything, but they don't have to pay them. If they make 40,000, the con makes up to $10,000. And so that's the big driver right now. And if fans don't feel confident, 25% of the fans don't show up or are not interested, that means that there's 25% less on the market. And that means that that guarantee might not be met. Or if those celebrities don't want to move their guarantees down to like 35,000, the con is not going to book those celebrities. It's not going to sell tickets. And then it just further perpetuates it based on that. And so a lot of this confidence is the fan confidence, and it's also these celebrities and these big celebrities' confidence. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to be paid. I think some of these people are worth their weight in gold. I think some of them are not. But it's also we have to that's what it looks like. I wrote an entire article on this. It has not been read nearly as much as it should be, and it breaks down where your ticket goes. And it's crazy that people don't know how cons work. And that's the driving factor in many ways. And not to get into the whole debate over it, but that's the big issue, along with the fact that it's sort of illegal to have a con with 100,000 people like New York Comic Con. I'm just saying that also might be a slight little factor in the workings here, but slight little factor, and also no con wants to be the con that says we had 20,000 people who got COVID from our con. You think it's good branding, right? Like nobody wants to be that con.
And like, I hate to say this, but KatsuCon was the last like big con, and I know
C2E2 technically was, but KatsuCon
okay,
on the
that's
East
fair.
Coast was the last big one,
But
technically. But continue. I get the argument where it's going.
a lot of people were sick right after KatsuCon. A lot of people were sick, and I don't mean con crud. I mean like really sick. So I'm wondering if people had the virus at Katsu and like passed it around because it was a huge con, obviously, and it was relevant then. It's still relevant now, and a bunch of people were sick then. So I'm just like,
I
you
don't know
know the
though.
meme with the white woman who's like,
I went to a wrestling event, and I know I'll disclose this, and there was about 500 people there. It was a Butch vs. Gore, so it was an LBGTQ wrestling event, and I was sponsoring the main event. And it was a great time. Nobody was sick. Nobody got sick from that event. It was in DC, so I don't know exactly if that's the case with KatsuCon, but KatsuCon was in February, or was it closer to March?
February. It was February 14th.
So it could be. It could be because COVID was starting to hit, but the main push with COVID, and I don't want to disparage KatsuCon. That's why I'm saying this is that I'm giving them a plausible out in case they come in.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hypothetically thinking, hypothetically, if this was
Right.
the case, in case I need to lawyer up, but I don't want to have to do that. If it was, but it could be a possibility.
Honestly.
But we're gonna table that argument because I think everybody knows we're speaking in hypothetical terms here.
Completely hypothetical.
And on that note, I would like to give you an opportunity to promote yourself because I know you got a bunch of stuff out there. I know you have an Instagram, how we connected. I don't know if you have a Facebook page that people can like and check stuff out. Obviously, I don't know if you have an Etsy store or anything like that, or anything you want to throw out there where people can find you and check you out. Obviously, what issue number is that Red Sonja? Because people might be looking for it either on eBay or some comic shops, or I don't know. You can probably order it directly from Dynamite
Yeah,
if
you can
you're
order
really
it directly
interested.
from
So
Dynamite. Oh gosh, I don't even remember which volume it was, but
I'm gonna
in
go find it. I'm
February,
gonna go find it right now.
right,
Hopefully.
you find it. Okay, so first, all of my socials. So on Instagram, I'm Vanta Black Cosplay. If you do a quick search of Vanta Black, hopefully I come up. Same thing for Twitter, it's Vanta Black Cos. On Facebook, it's just Vanta Black. That's my Facebook page. I also have a Discord channel. We talk about cosplay, natural hair. We do Among Us like once a week. I share food recipes as well. And you can come join me in Discord. I try to be on it every day. Just some like simple conversations, and we just like hang out and talk about what's going on. In February is my birthday month, and I'm going to be on the cover of Vampirella. So make sure you guys go and buy because
That's in previews right now. Just for anybody who knows comic books, previews means that since it's November, November previews are for January/February. So you can actually pre-order that book right now, probably on a bunch of stuff like Midtown Comics and
yeah.
your LCS, which is your local comic shop. But continue, please.
I'm so excited to be on the cover of Vampirella again. Like being on a cover is super awesome, and it's such a like you said, a milestone. So really excited about that. Definitely come join the fun. And if you have questions about cosplaying, if you have questions about natural hair, if you have questions about natural hair in cosplay, you can also hit me up on Instagram. If you need help with armor tips or sewing, you can click in my highlights on Instagram, and I have a tutorial of almost every single cosplay I've made. And if you need help getting props, need help getting materials, I know we briefly mentioned that like New York City, you can get everything here in New York, but I know like in other states and other countries, it's a little bit more difficult. So if you want, you can message me. I will link you to all of the sites that I get stuff, and I know international and national sellers as well.
Yeah, I can't find that cosplay, and my resource, which is CLZ, which is a comic book barcode scanner, and they update like every week. I can't find it, so I can't help anybody in that realm. But if you type in enough, I'm sure that if you type in Vanta Black and then Red Sonja, it'll pop up.
It
I'm
should pop up.
pretty sure it's gonna pop up in some fashion or other, or if somebody does know, they see this, or if Dynamite, which I'm gonna send this to them and hopefully they'll promote it. Hopefully they'll watch this thing all the way through. Throw me a bone, share it because I do need the views. Please do so, Dynamite, if you're watching, as well as also inform all of us what issue that is and maybe even post a link to it so people can actually buy it, which I'll probably wind up doing and sending them something tomorrow after I deal with something in the morning, which will be unpleasant, and my Cthulhu Invades Oz interview, which I'm doing with a friend of mine. So hopefully that'll all be good that way. But obviously, I'm going to give you the last word if you have anything else you need to promote or mention or anything in that regard.
Upcoming projects. Okay, so I'm doing I think it's 3 big projects as of now, but we'll see how many more I get onto. Rapunzel is my next big project. That's gonna be my big sewing project. Um, Widowmaker is my big sewing and armor project. I started it earlier this year and I didn't get to finish, so now that it's winter, I'll be inside more and I can finish. And my ginormous armor project is Sylvanas from WoW. I If you guys see me crying on Instagram, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to do all of it. I really wanted to focus more on foam smithing because it's a niche field in cosplay. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I do miss doing it. So stay tuned. Definitely watch my highlights. I'll probably do some live streams. So if you guys want to ask questions while you watch me Dremel things, definitely come and ask.
Well, I would just like to say thank you for being on because I appreciate it. And as always, and I've been saying it with everybody, definitely support indie people, support cosplayers. One of the things that I'm doing, and I purposely mentioned it at the end, is I'm targeting people who have less than 15,000 Instagram followers purposely, because those people do need support. They need, viewers. They need a lot more people to like their stuff and buy their stuff. um, not to target any big cosplay or anything, but once somebody has over 100 or 200 or a million followers, they don't need your support as much as somebody who has 10,000 followers
Right.
or 1,000. It's the first 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 that are super important to support on. And I'll say this also is that it's cool to support people who are indie, extremely indie, because then you're on the ground floor. And there's been plenty of people that I know that have been on the ground floor who have been very generous to me, and I've been very generous to them. And I have friendships with people who are in somewhat high places in society and in certain companies and are building a track record. And while they can't necessarily help me now, they know and they answer my emails when they maybe shouldn't be answering my emails. Um, and but they answer because I was there first and I was there when nobody else was giving them an opportunity. And so it's super important because people, when they're first starting out, if you support them, they don't forget.
Yep.
I'm the
Yep.
same way with people. I don't forget, and a lot of other people don't forget, and that's something to keep in mind. Where if you're supporting somebody like their Instagram stuff, and then Vanta Black hits 20,000 followers, and you were there first, chances are she's not going to forget you and
Yeah.
where you're at, especially if you were championing for her. So that's another reason why, from a practical business standpoint, and also she's got some awesome cosplays, and
Thank you.
so that's something to check out and really enjoy and appreciate and things like that. So I would just like to say thank you again for being on. Everybody go support her. Instagram is probably the best thing to do, and I get it, money's tight. So if you can't go economically support somebody, social media is free. And so there's no excuse anymore. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up, and I think that's a wrap.
Awesome. Thank you so much.